The Mets have not played up to expectations so far in 2023. So what's been their main problem, and more importantly, can they fix it? Coming into the season, expectations were ridiculously high for the Mets, and I mean, it was fairly reasonable given that Uncle Steve was literally breaking records with how much money he was willing to spend on this team. This offseason, the Mets re-signed center fielder Brandon Nimmo to an 8-year, $162 million deal, and closer Edwin Diaz to a 5-year, $102 million deal. Then they added starting pitchers Justin Verlander for 2 years, $86.67 million, Kodai Senga for 5 years, $75 million, and Jose Quintana for 2 years, $26 million. But after spending literally historic amounts of money on a team that should compete for a World Series this year, the Mets have started at only 21-23 and are currently 3rd place in the NL East. Now, offensively, they've had a couple of guys that have underperformed a little bit. Shortstop Francisco Lindor only has a 727 OPS and a 104 WRC+, which isn't really all that bad, but with how much they're paying him, you'd definitely like to see those numbers be a little bit higher than that. Then outfielder Mark Canha has a 671 OPS with only an 89 WRC+, and their other corner outfielder, Starling Marte, only has a 588 OPS for a 72 WRC+. Overall, their lineup has been 20th in runs scored, 18th in OPS, and 13th in WRC+. So safe to say, it's not what the Mets had hoped to be getting out of these guys so far at this point in the season. Now on the bright side, despite their struggles, they have still been taking really good at-bats. They're currently 8th in walk percentage and 2nd in strikeout percentage. This could be a really good sign that we could see their lineup start to turn things around here, because clearly they're still seeing the ball pretty well, but let me know what you think about that. The offense has definitely underperformed a little bit here, but honestly, they haven't really been the big problem here for the Mets. That's been the starting rotation. The Mets rotation so far has been 25th in ERA, 28th in FIP and ERA minus, and 29th in FIP minus. And on top of this, they haven't been able to get many innings out of them. They're only 26th in innings pitched. When we talk about evaluating pitchers, the new understanding is that pitchers can really only control 3 things. That's their strikeouts, walks, and home runs. Does that annoy you that I just switched fingers there? Now you're gonna notice that. This is where we get FIP from, fielding independent pitching. And when we look at any of these individually for the Mets, it doesn't look very good. Starting with strikeouts, they've been 20th in strikeout percentage so far, and it only goes downhill from here, where they've been 27th in homers per 9 and dead last in walk percentage. So then what are the Mets starters doing or not doing that's making them pitch so poorly here? If you've ever pitched at any level of baseball, and I'm talking even down to Little League here, you probably remember a coach yelling at you to just throw strikes. And as stupid as that may sound, it really can be that simple sometimes. To get strikeouts, you have to be throwing strikes. To limit walks, you also have to be throwing strikes. And the more strikes that you throw, the more you get ahead of hitters, the less aggressive they can be and try to sit and jump on something. So the less likely they are to hit home runs against you. And the Mets have been the worst in baseball at throwing strikes. They have the lowest zone percentage in MLB so far. And as a hitter, when a pitcher's struggling to throw strikes, you know that you can be way more selective because you're not worried about impaining the corners against you. And that's only gonna make it easier to jump on a good pitch when you get one. And it's pretty clear that opposing lineups are able to do this against the Mets starters right now. They've got the 26th lowest chase percentage, so hitters are really only going after 4 sure strikes against them. And when they get those, they're ready to take advantage of it. Mets starters have given up the 22nd lowest barrel percentage and the 28th worst homers per fly ball so far. So it's pretty clear that the Mets rotation has really struggled so far. And if you have a different reason why they've been so bad, I'd love to hear it. Drop a comment down below. But with names like Verlander and Scherzer at the top of this rotation, guys like Jose Quintana and Carlos Carrasco helping to round this out, How is a rotation that's worth $128.67 million AAV doing so poorly? Well, to start, these guys have struggled to just even get on the field at the same time so far. Verlander and Carrasco have both made only 3 starts because of a strained shoulder and a bone chip in his elbow respectively, and Quintana hasn't made a single start this season after having bone graft surgery earlier this year. In those 3 starts, Verlander's put up a 4.76 ERA with a 5.48 FIP, mainly struggling with the long ball where he's given up 2.12 homers per 9 so far, and Carrasco's put up an ugly 8.56 ERA and a 7.40 FIP, walking as many guys as he struck out. That's not good, by the way, while also giving up almost 2 homers per 9. Then this brings us to Max Scherzer, who did miss 2 starts because of a suspension for sticky stuff, and I'm not even gonna bother talking about that right now. When he's been on the field, in his 6 starts, he's given up a 4.88 ERA and a 5.65 FIP with a double-digit walk percentage and also nearly giving up 2 homers per 9. Kodai Senga, who I said was the biggest wild card of their rotation before this year coming over from Japan, he's been the best so far with a 3.77 ERA and a 4.37 FIP, nearly striking out 30% of the hitters that he's faced, but he does really need to cut down on the walks, with his walk percentage right now sitting at about 14%. So with a lot of the main guys the Mets were relying on in this rotation missing some time, they've had to really rely on their depth to help them out here, and that's not gone very well. David Peterson and Tyler McGill have both made 8 starts this year, with Peterson getting shelled for an 8.08 ERA and a 4.82 FIP, mainly due to a 1.85 homers per 9 and a 3.23 batting average allowed, while McGill's been a little bit better with a 4.02 ERA but a 5.24 FIP, coming mainly from a 12.3 walk percentage with not a lot of strikeouts on top of that. Then Joey Lucchesi got 5 starts, putting up a 4.43 ERA and a 5.18 FIP, and Jose Butto in 2 starts has put up a very good 2.79 ERA, but an awful 7.13 FIP. So it's been a rough start, to say the least, for the Mets starting pitchers here. But this leads us back to the question then of, can they turn this around and help this team compete for a World Series like they're expected to? Before we get into that, if you've gotten anything out of this video so far, please hit that like button, subscribe to the page, and turn on notifications. Not only does it help the channel grow, and I can't thank you enough for that, but you also get to see more baseball content like this when we drop a new video every Wednesday and Sunday. So now, what can we expect from the Mets starters going forward? So first, we have to talk about the injuries with their starters, and let's look on the bright side first. Carrasco is scheduled to come back on Friday, so if you're watching this now on Sunday, he hopefully should have made his first start back again. And Jose Quintana is expected to return this season. Right now, the timetable is looking like around July. But personally, I don't really trust the fact that this rotation can stay healthy over the course of a full season here, given the fact that Verlander is 40 with almost 3,200 innings on his arm at this point and has already been hurt this year. Scherzer also has over 2,700 innings in his career. He turns 39 in July and missed time even last year on the IL. And Carrasco is 36 and hasn't made 30 starts in a season since 2018. And we already know that Quintana's gonna be out for a while here. So there is a high likelihood here, at best, that the Mets are still gonna have to rely on a lot of these depth guys in the rotation. And unfortunately, none of them have very much of a proven track record at the major league level so far. Over the course of their careers so far, McGill has a 4.57 ERA and FIP in about 177 innings. Peterson has a 4.83 ERA and a 4.27 FIP in 261 innings. Lucchesi has a 4.25 ERA and 4.19 FIP in 360 innings, and Butto has a 6.19 ERA and a 6.88 FIP in 16 innings. Look, the expectation for this team, and rightfully so with how much money has been spent on them, is that they're going to be competing for a World Series, and anything short of that is definitely going to be counted as a disappointing season. But unfortunately for Mets fans who have already had plenty of disappointment over the years, I get it. this is probably going to be looking like another heartbreaking season. The Mets have gone all in to go after a championship, and as a fan of baseball, I love to see that. And there are definitely parts of this team that I fully expect are going to play better over the rest of this season. But with what the rotation is showing us, both underperforming and dealing with these injuries already, I think it's looking like a long shot that they can hold it together enough for the Mets to realistically be a real competitor at the World Series this season. But I'm curious your thoughts, what you think about the Mets so far, and any predictions you have for the rest of their season. Now, while the Mets have spent big and they've been struggling to live up to expectations so far this season, the Rangers have also spent big recently, and they've blown past their expectations to start 2023 here. And that's even with their two biggest names missing some time, one of which Mets fans are very familiar with and also not surprised that he's missed some time. But to find out more about that with the Rangers, check out this video next. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the page, turn on notifications. Thank you so much for helping the channel grow. I can't thank you enough for that. And you get to see more baseball content like this. We drop new videos every Wednesday, every Sunday. Make sure you check them out. Thank you so much for watching this one. Have an awesome day. I'll see you later.